How are we doing, friends? And welcome back to Continues to Tick. As you saw by the title of today's video, I'm going to be talking about how I've now reached the $2,500 a year in dividend amount. And this was my next milestone. We finally have hit it, even after selling Walgreens. It took a bit to adjust and get back, but here we are, once again and officially hitting this mark, which is big. The next goal is 3,000, and as we inch an inch further ahead, this is how it goes. I mean, you got to set these little milestones to kind of keep you hungry, keep you motivated. The dividend portfolio journey, growing a substantial size of a portfolio, is in fact a journey. It takes time. It's like watching grass grow and paint dry. So if you don't set these milestones for yourself, it's going to feel even more like that. So we'll talk about it in today's video. And as far as the topic for today's video, I'll be talking on why dividend investing is so powerful. But just like we normally begin, we'll start with the dividend portfolio review. So here we are now, friends, at $97,923.40. 2 weeks ago, I believe we were at $96,600 or so. So we continue to climb. We continue to move despite these markets, and I can't even say despite these markets are actually continuing to move upwards. These markets are relentless. They're just not stopping. Inflation continues, but if you're investing and you're in the game, so do the gains. The gains will continue as well. So I can't stress it enough, friends. If you guys are sitting on the sidelines, and it doesn't have to be a dividend portfolio, it could be a growth portfolio, it could be any other form of investment. Like, the point is just to get in and invest. If not, you're going to continue to be left behind, because these markets continue to surprise me, and I'll mention why as the video goes on. But if this is your first time here, friends, welcome. The day I started this dividend portfolio was back in July of 2020, that crazy year, of the pandemic, and right when the markets kind of crashed and everyone was panicking. That's when I started this dividend portfolio. And just like everybody else at that time, I thought it was going to crash more. I didn't know it was going to rebound and continue to go up almost indefinitely since then. But that's what it's done. And, there's really no point in ever timing the market. That's not the best play. I mean, for me, it's like even now, it's like I want to get into real estate, and, is it going to crash? Is it not? I mean, logically, it doesn't make sense for it to crash. I mean, there's barely any housing inventory for people to buy anyway. The amount of debt that I see people getting into, the way that people are spending their money, I'm like, there just has to be something that gives. So time will tell. For now, I just continue to invest what I can into my dividend portfolio, which at the moment, again, I've mentioned it before, is actually nothing. I'm not actively funneling money into this portfolio. And if you've been following this journey, you know why, but I could give you just a quick little recap. I got a new job with a pay cut. It was a job promotion. It was actually a job that I've been wanting, but it required to take a pay cut. I'm investing in career development. The way I look at it, it's like I took one step back to take a couple steps forward in the future, working as a nurse consultant. Money's been tight, and it still continues to be kind of like a recalibration period for me. I'm still trying to figure out, when I can start investing again, but it has seemed to not really matter, which is the crazy part, as my portfolio continues to move upwards. And as we come up back here to the graph here, let me show you just the past week, how it's been moving. It says a money weighted rate of return of about 1.46%. The month chart, again, it continues to incline. 3 months, look at this. And then year to date, look at this. The best place I could show you what my actual return is for my portfolio is if I come here. I'm in the holding section, and my cost basis is $71,709 with the valuation of my portfolio, as you've seen, of $97,900, and we're right there hovering at 98. So with 98, then comes 99, and ultimately my goal, was to hit $100,000 before the age of 30. I'm 29. I'll be 30 next year in August. I'm pretty sure it's safe to say, knocking on wood, I should hit $100,000 by the age of 30. And for the people that don't know, maybe you've been following this journey in and out, the dividend portfolio play, it is one of the pillars that I'm trying to utilize for an early or just a solid retirement. My goal with retirement, it's to retire early. For me, early means the age of 50 or 52. And the reason why I have those specific ages is because I do work for the state of California. I work for the government, and I'm working with a pension. So the age I can actually take out my pension begins at the age of 50 or 52. There's some tweaking that impacts that, depends where I work. But the point is, I'm going to have the dividend portfolio, I'm going to have my pension, also likely a little bit of a 457B. But the next thing that I'm trying to get to is get to a solid place in my career where now I'm making more money, and then that extra money I'll funnel more here. But with that extra money that I'll be making, I plan to get into real estate, but for now, I'm investing in dividends. I'm a dividend investor. And this is the same temptation that continues to come up from time to time for me. Maybe you guys can relate, get into real estate, invest in dividends, real estate, dividend portfolio. What do you do, right? And it's not like binary. It's not just one or the other. But for me at the moment, it is really just one or the other, because I want to continue to grow. And these markets are wild right now. These markets are wild. I'm just trying to throw in what I can to this thing. And, I'll show you here, right? So in my funding history, when I first started this dividend portfolio, it really did pay off to actually fund my portfolio very heavy at the beginning. And lately I've been dropping off. But see, in 2020, I put in $12,700. This is $500 every single week, for whenever I started in July of that year. And then 2021 was a perfect year. I hit the mark every single week for 52 weeks of $500, which equates to $26,000 total for the year. That was honestly my best year. It dropped off a little bit. That's because towards the end of this year, I started planning for school to get my master's degree. And in 2023, I was fully in my master's degree program. So I was paying it out of pocket, which cost about $18,000. And I also went to Greece when I graduated. So I took out $2,000 of Nvidia stock, because that thing has continued to go crazy. And I was going crazy back then. So I funded part of my Greece trip. And then now here we are in 2024, right? At $3,750 funded in for the year. And I do hope I get to start funding my portfolio again, at some point this year. My goal was to only stop, investing or funding for about 4 weeks, just to kind of really recalibrate, cleanse the palate, and then start funding it again, maybe with a small amount. I was funding $100 every week before I stopped. I don't know if I'll be able to get to $100 every week again, just because it is tight. But my goal is I need to do this job for at least 2 years. I'm already 5 months in to get my next one that pays more. So we'll see, friends. For me, a big pillar in my whole plan here is career advancement. And I attribute that to this idea of, the shovel, right? The shovel that I have in my life. It's very important. A doctor makes a lot of money. That's his shovel. Lawyers make a lot of money. Electricians or mechanics make a certain level as well. These are just your shovels, right? That you're going to use to build your life with, right? For me, I want to build a substantial shovel. Right now, just for perspective, my shovel is $110,000 for the year. So the only way I'm going to be able to invest more is if I make more money, right? Because I drove a Toyota Camry, 2014. So it's not like I'm throwing my money in areas that really don't matter too much. I've invested what I could. I've invested into my career, and we're just going to continue to see how this whole thing plays out. I've always looked at it in my 20s. My 20s are for building. I just want to always give you guys the backstory and be transparent. Let me show you guys a little bit of the activity section. So, here are some dividend payouts. Like I said, I'm not funding my portfolio currently, and I'm going to touch on this part in the topic of today's video. But as you can see, we get quite a bit of dividend payouts and a couple buys in here as well, because I'm dripping everything that's coming in. So just for perspective, if you guys were wondering. And now back to the holding section here. I'm not going to make you guys wait any longer. I want to show you guys that this portfolio does now generate $2,500 for the year. This is the goal of 2024. I really don't look at it this way because, it's the projection of the year. It's not like, oh yeah, up to this point I've been paid $2,500. The way I look at it is the projected next 12 months. So the projected next 12 months, I finally hit my goal of $2,500 a year coming from this dividend portfolio. I don't plan on selling anything. At this point in time, as of now, this moment, I've hit the mark of $2,500 a year getting paid from this dividend portfolio. And this is an average monthly income amount of $215. So it's pretty good, friends. We continue onwards. The next goal will be $3,000, and this is how we're making it through, right? A little bit at a time. It's like watching grass grow and paint dry, but it's worth it. Yeah, I've been doing this dividend portfolio for over 4 years now. In July of this year, it was 4 years. Here we are in October now. So we're trucking along. And, the 100K mark is the mark I'm very excited for. 6 figures. So this, along with the pension, along with my career advancement opportunities that will be ahead of me to make more money and then get into real estate, it's all shaping, friends. Think about your future. Honestly, it's very, very important to do so. And let's just go back to the all-time charts here. As you can see on this graph, this graph is wild, especially lately. Because I'll be honest, when I first started, I was funding $500 every single week. And as time went on, I started to have to adjust and invest a little less, right? I dropped it down to 400 and then 200 every single week. And eventually, for quite some time, I was only doing $100 every single week. And that's, roughly around here or so. And it looks like the markets have just continued to increase despite my lowering of my own funding amount into my portfolio. But you really see it here in this picture. And as we move down here, friends, let me show you just some of the top performers of my portfolio. Let's see, we have tech as a sector, 443% return. I'm not going to click on it. A big chunk of that is due to NVIDIA. Financials, 129%, energy, 128%. And these other ones are pretty good as well, as you can see. And my only poor performer is the healthcare sector, down 3.54%. And I'll just say, friends, if you're curious, you want to see how to look into any of these sectors that I have, you want to see what index fund I'm holding, for example, it's VIG, as you can see. I do leave a link in my description box down below. Go ahead and click on that, and you can look at all my slices on your own time, at your leisure. Take a peek to see what it is that I'm holding if you're curious. And just to throw it in here, friends, you're probably wondering what the data is for the portfolio. So just so you can see, at the moment in this portfolio, 50 holdings, which I think you saw a little peek on another part of the video. But my dividend yield, if you're curious, it's 2.893%. A little bit, on the lower end. For me, my comfort level is anywhere between 2.8, maybe 3.4, anywhere in there. And as far as my expense ratio, 0.01%. But friends, for the topic for today's video, I do want to touch on why dividend investing is so powerful. And I've already began to touch on it a little bit, but let's actually make it the topic now for the rest of the video. So as I was saying, right, I started investing $500 every single week into this portfolio. I was really blitzing this thing. I was really, as people say, pushing the boulder quickly up the hill to get it to roll down faster, right? Building up the momentum, the pressure, the buildup. I was doing all of that at the beginning. And then eventually I had to start investing less. And you can see here, it was really slowing down. And, here, right, around this time, I started investing only $100 into my dividend portfolio versus the $500 at the beginning. But tell me why, right? Here, in this area, where I'm investing $500, it still looks the same as here, where I'm investing only $100. Part of this is a compounding effect taking place. You could say and give credit to the dripping of, the reinvesting of dividends as the portfolio has increased in size. And the key part to why dividend investing is it's all of that. It's all of that. It's the compounding, it's the portfolio size increasing, it's the dripping of the investments of the portfolio, it's the markets going up in value. It is all those things as to why dividend investing is so powerful. And this is why it's important to understand when you invest for dividends is that it just takes time, but it's very powerful to reinvest dividend payouts that come in and to be able to have your portfolio continue to give you value, give you income when you're investing less, because then you're investing less and those dividend payouts are now investing back into your portfolio, right? So if this was a growth portfolio and I can't invest anything, I would be putting nothing into it. But because it's a dividend portfolio and I'm getting dividend payouts, I'm now using those dividend payouts to put back into my dividend portfolio, when otherwise it would be a dry period. I haven't invested anything in about a month already, about 3 or 4 weeks. So the fact is, this strategy is quite powerful when you can't invest anything and you've built it to a decent amount. Because as you saw, let's say I don't invest anything for the year, My dividend payouts now for the whole year for this portfolio is $2,500, right? Sure, you can talk about the taxes and stuff on the back end, but honestly, the tax part hasn't even impacted me. And my own taxes, I still get a tax return, even with the portfolio of this size, and making $110,000 a year in California with really no deductions. I do a standard deduction. So just keep that in mind. If this was a growth portfolio, like I said, let's zoom out and look at it in this context. If this is my portfolio, my growth portfolio, and I can't invest anything for a whole year, I only ride the gains. That's it. But as you saw, I have $26,000 in gains for this portfolio. So it's not like I don't get gains. My gain amount is 36%. So I do get gains. But in a growth portfolio only, if you don't invest anything for the year, you don't invest and put anything at all. It's just riding the gains. But in a dividend portfolio, you're riding the gains. And if I can't put anything into this thing, you saw, I still get payouts from dividends of $2,500 for the year. And that is what I would reinvest into my portfolio, even when I can't even invest my own money into it. Because that part is the craziness about a dividend portfolio. That is why this strategy is so powerful, is because of that piece right there. It is the passive income generating portfolio that this is. It generates income. It's not, oh, let me just buy Tesla at, $40 a share and wait for it to get to $140 a share and then sell at $140 a share. This portfolio on its own generates me income. I could then use that income for expenses to reinvest however I want to. That is why I'm a dividend investor, and that is why this strategy is so powerful in my eyes. Because when you really look at it, right, look at my funding history, it is right here. Here is the example. I really was blitzing at the beginning, and as time went on, it dwindled less, right? If I'm investing less, why is my portfolio still going up in value and still giving me money? It's because it's a dividend portfolio. That's the only reason why. And let me show you this. And about 2 weeks ago, when I was recording this video again, I was at $96,600, right? $96,600 or so on my last video. Here we are now at $97,923. It went up approximately $1,300 in 2 weeks, and I didn't invest a single dollar of my own. I just continued to invest the dividend payouts. And if nothing, if you want to say that didn't matter, then that's all gains. That is all growth. And I mean, who's to say that if you had only a growth portfolio, it wouldn't grow or it would grow more? It's hard to say. But the point is, that's enough growth for me, with me not even investing anything into it. And that is also just one of the reasons why I always mention you have to be invested, you have to be in this game, because if you're not, you're just going to get left behind. It's crazy how these markets are moving, which is a whole separate point, but you could see it. I haven't invested a single dollar in the last 2 weeks, and this is a dividend portfolio that went from $96,600 to $97,900. I didn't invest a single dollar in those 2 weeks. And it's not even like my dividend pay ins, right? My dividend payouts going back into my portfolio even placed a dent in that amount. Yeah, at most maybe $100, $200, right, of dividend payouts in those last 2 weeks. The rest of it was gains. My point to all of this, friends, is think of being a dividend investor as a strategy, especially moving forward in these really rocky and shaky markets. Everything is continuing to go up. It's pretty crazy. But for me, I'd rather keep my asset, keep my dividend portfolio, which is a cake, and eat it too, right? You get to keep your portfolio, keep its size, and get the passive income that is being generated from it in dividend payouts. That's my strategy. I'll continue to preach it. I've been here for a while, and I know there's other people doing the same thing. I just say, hey, let's continue. Let's continue. So that's going to be it for this week's video, friends. I appreciate you guys watching this one. I did just want to celebrate, the milestone of the $2,500 a year mark. And the next goal is going to be $3,000 for the year. We'll see how long it takes to hit it. I imagine it's going to take me a decent amount of time more than it typically would, just because of my tight budget right now. But these markets continue to move up. I feel like the portfolio size will continue to increase, but just because the portfolio size continues to increase, that doesn't mean that my dividends will increase. That's all gain, right? We're waiting for the dividends to catch up to it. But anyways, friends, as always, thank you for joining, and I'll see you guys on the next one.